Guys, one of my newest sponsors, trying to get ready for them, is my friends over at FIELDPULSE. Guys, FIELDPULSE has been rated as the #1 HVAC field service management tool and #1 for both ease of use and customer service. FIELDPULSE is the solution you need to accelerate your business. Still operating off pen and paper, FIELDPULSE keeps track of your customers' estimates, invoices, and work orders digitally, helping you gain visibility in every aspect of your business. The FIELDPULSE scheduling features help you keep track of your techs, their jobs, and their current location while out in the field. FIELDPULSE has maintenance agreements and the good, better, best proposal tool included in the platform. If you do commercial work, there's a project management feature to help you with the long-term work. On average, businesses grow 60% within their first year after signing up with FIELDPULSE. Start your 7-day free trial and take your business to the next level with FIELDPULSE today. Okay, start your 7-day free trial. Take advantage of what they have to offer. I will have a link here shortly. This partnership is literally like brand new, but I will have a link for you guys to be able to do that, and you will get a discount. Always fun, always fun. Guys, last but not least, my friends over at Yellow Jacket. Guys, some of their new tools that I was been messing with, I have them. So I have another combustion analyzer to give away. I have a YJack Mano here to give away, but I'm going to use them for a little bit before I give them away. Guys, Yellow Jacket has been the standard for tools for 70 years and counting. That's why they say 7 years of expertise built into every tool. And I get it. Sometimes they're not the jazziest. They don't have the fancy stuff that maybe some of the other ones have, but you know what? Every time I get one of their tools out that's for a designated purpose, it works. It does exactly what it's supposed to do. I have beat the living hell out of these tools. And as far as I'm concerned, when I look at, different tools I want to buy, or when my guys ask me, hey, what should I get? I tell them I look for the cost, obviously, what it does, and the durability factor, okay? I don't care about all the fluff and stuff they add to set themselves apart. I want it to do the job that I needed to do when I needed to do it. And that's one thing I can say about Yellow Jacket. Every tool they have does exactly that. I am currently rocking the YJack Mano in my tool bag now when I go out to help with maintenancers or I run with techs. It's something you should have in every tool bag, whether it's heating or air conditioning, whether you're checking static pressure, or whether you're checking, gas pressure or whatever it is. That should be in your bag all year round. And the combustion analyzer, the CA502 and the CA502P, only difference with that P is the printer. It is an affordable combustion analyzer to get you into that market. And to be honest, I'll keep this brief. I used to think that combustion analysis in residential was stupid because I was like, hey, with gas furnaces, you can't really adjust anything. We can adjust gas pressure, but the manufacturer says it should be between 3.2, 3.5 inch the water column. So I can only do so much. I can't adjust the oxygen. But with that being said, obviously oil's a different story, stuff like that. Yes, you do need to have it. But imagine going to do a maintenance and you run the combustion analysis and they have a 95% efficient furnace. And you're like, hey, this furnace is only running at 90% efficient. And when you get done your maintenance, you make your adjustments, you go back, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Smith, remember that what I told you about your 95 efficient furnace? You pay the extra money to get the higher efficient, was only running at 90. Well, guess what? Now it's running exactly at 95, exactly where it's supposed to be. And to me, that adds value. That makes you different than everybody else. So I think that's a winner right there. Guys, so remember, 70 years of expertise built into every tool. Got a great show. I'm excited for you. Thank you guys for being here. Let's rock and freaking roll. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless the United States. And thank you to all those men and women who defend it.
Five, four, three, two, one, go. Welcome to the #1 rated HVAC podcast. If you're looking to grow in the HVAC industry, then you're in the right spot. Blue-collar people talking about blue-collar shit. Let's get better together. So turn up the volume, buckle your seatbelt, and let's welcome your host, Gil KV Jr.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. I'm your host, Gil KV Jr., here on another hump day to listen to me talk. Guys, I have a really, really good show tonight. If you see the name and you recognize it, I had this guest on before, and it was actually the day, I'll never forget, it is the day that I got this brand new mixer that I upgraded from the Rode Procaster 1 to the Rode Procaster 2. Had to have it. You guys know me. And I'm an impulse buyer. And I was so pumped. And we had so many technical difficulties, and every single one of them was 100% my fault. So I could never really put out the audio. I don't feel like I was able to give the true justice that this man deserves, because he is an awesome guy. He's really good at what he does. He's just got so much, knowledge just sitting here talking to him to be able to learn. So guys, without further ado, let me get right into it. And it is Mr. Adam Skorstad.
What's going on, buddy?
What's
How
up?
you doing?
I'm good, man. Thank you for being here. And awesome shirt. This is the first night I haven't worn an HVAC tactile shirt.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right? You got to show that award again. Come on. Put that back up.
See, I got it. Yeah. I finally got it down here. My funny story real fast, like how this has plastic around it. And I had it sitting up on, like, I forget what it's called, in my dresser. My daughter, she was just looking at it and she knocked it off. I came home from work yesterday and she's like in the corner crying, and she's like, and my other daughter's like, Daddy's going to be so mad at you. And I'm like, she's like, Daddy's going to hate me. I'm like, what the hell is going on? Like, what's wrong? And she knocked it over, like, off, and it fell down. Nothing happened. Like, this little plastic part, there's a rip right here. But I'm like, I will live. That's the least of my worries. Like, it's okay. It's funny about it now, though.
That's it. Well, it's well-deserved, right?
So I hear.
Absolutely.
I am definitely honored, man. Even to be nominated with those guys and be up there was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm forever grateful for that, for sure. So I appreciate it.
No, absolutely. That's why, I try to wear one every day, even on my calls with clients, right? Because I want to support the community that's supported me through the journey as well.
Yeah, I'm in the process now of trying to get more like HVAC Uncensored merch for like my family and to wear, but I'm always wearing somebody else's stuff. Like I'm wearing Chris from HVACR videos in here, my buddy Chris, HVAC tactical stuff. I'm always buying stuff. And Ben's like, dude, if you want a shirt, just tell me. You've bought enough. I'm like, no, like I want to support you, man. All my different friends, Tersh and them, I wear the Service Business Mastery shirts. Like I want to support my friends. And yes, I have that hat too. And
That's it.
And that's what's awesome, this community that we're building that is there to help each other and help other people. It's amazing, and I'm so grateful to be a part of it. I really am, because it's not bigger than any one man or woman. It's everybody together collectively trying to help make this trade better. It's fucking awesome.
Absolutely. It's insane how big it is, but how small the industry actually is when you start talking to guys.
Yeah, exactly. And to realize, like, it was so funny. Like, I become like close friends with Mr. Craig Migliaccio, AC Service Tech. And he called me the other day and we talked, but what started with an email. He said, Gil, I just wanted you to know, funny story. A guy reached out to me and said that he had found me from your podcast and ended up buying like some of my workbooks and all that kind of stuff for all of his employees. And he lived in Jersey. So I met him in person and I'm like, how the hell does somebody know me and not know Craig? You know what I mean? But it just makes you think it's a small world. Like, you may have 100,000 followers and you have 50 and you have 200. It doesn't mean we're all pulling from the same people, So that's why the collabs and different things is huge, that we get the word out there, Christ, when I went on Instagram for the first time, they hear me say it a million times. I'm like, oh, it's a whole new world. I met all kind of amazing people. I love the Instagram atmosphere because it's positive, not like Facebook. But yeah, it is pretty amazing. I guess, Adam, if you want to let everybody know a little bit about you, your background, and what you do, and then we'll get this thing rock and roll, my man.
Yeah, absolutely. One, thanks again for getting us back on. I'm Adam Skorstad, obviously, but I'm a head coach with BDR. Okay. And so we're a coaching platform for the trades, and we specialize in one-on-one coaching, development. We focus on, driving profit, okay, and growth in your business. And we coach to the core fundamentals. A little bit about my past, actually, coming up pretty close. And I always age myself when I do this. And I always throw an extra year or two on there. But if I look back, actually, I got in the trades, right around 95, but actually came back into it 97. And been in it since 97. And I had a 4-year break from the industry. So what is that, 26, 27 years or so in the industry. And I've done every facet of this business, right? Started as a low temp technician. I was terrible. Okay. But I was a good leader. And so I was able to get promoted very quickly into a service management role, right? And just sprungboard that trade life for me. Left, came back, did sales, owned an organization, right? Been in partnerships with other organizations, been a territory manager, a regional manager, covered the western part of North America. When I say North America, it's Texas to Canada and Mexico and the whole 9 yards for a company. And for me, really, I was blessed to come up and be coached under BDR, and it really gave me a strong foundation. And so for me, where I'm at today, it was giving back to the trades and getting back to the roots of what that was. I was polished by a handful of other individuals, but the core of what I coached to and who I was in this industry was through an organization, right?
And that's awesome. I hear so much about them and how powerful that they actually are. And I guess, so we have some owners out here, some managers, and some of these guys are techs or aspiring business owners. A lot of them want to get started one day. Let them know, like you were telling me, you deal with small guys and big guys. Like there's no certain like path or certain like you got to hit 1 million before you can talk to these people. Like it's everybody.
Absolutely. Right. And so BDR, the nice part with BDR is we have customized coaching for basically any size organization, including specialty coaching. Right. And so we have some organizations that go all in and get financial and head coaching, and then they get service coaching and sales coaching. Right. And we work a little bit more in depth, maybe a little more hands on with CSRs. But we also work with the small guy who's just starting off and it's just him in the van. Right. And he's struggling and he's having a hard time answering the telephone. And, how do I book a call? How do I get to the call? Am I charging enough? Right. And I would tell you this, every time I get a new client, it's always eye opening to me is that, so many of us get into the industry saying, well, we could do it better. Right. We're working for the man and we say, you know what, I can go off. We charge a lot of money. We don't understand what that really takes. And you'll have success in the beginning, but it won't be long before you start realizing all the things that you hated that you had to do, you now have to do in your business. Right. And you start second guessing yourself. But the most important thing, and you hear it on almost any podcast, any special guest that comes on from the major players, from Ishmael and Ken Goodrich and all those guys, what do they always preach? You got to know your numbers. Yep. You got to know your numbers. And it is an important part of your business. And when we say, what do we know about our numbers? We were just talking about this a minute ago offline is what do you do with the numbers once you get the numbers? Yeah, that's one of the most unique things that we want to talk about when we coach with, a lot of our clients is what's next? Great. We found out what those issues are or what you should be charging, right? I have a saying with a lot of my clients and I'll back off for a second, but I try to tell them all the time is you'll never outpace improperly priced services. You'll never do enough work that offsets being a little cheaper. The second you get a van and you have some bills on your business, you don't get to decide what you should charge anymore. That dictates what you should charge.
Amen. Amen. And just for a technician to put this in something that maybe you guys would understand, it's like getting digital gauges and now you can see superheat and subcooling and you know what they are, but you don't know what they're supposed to be. What's the point of knowing them if you don't know what they're supposed to be? Like, oh, my subcooling's 15. Okay, great. What's it supposed to be? It's the same thing when it gets into business, not knowing that stuff. And I really think it's cool. And I loved what you said when we were talking off air about, having to keep reassuring the foundation. Any foundation has to be there, whether it's a house, a business, whatever. And that's something I learned because I came up as a tech. I wasn't some business guru. I was good at fixing stuff, took that transition to management. And now I'm learning the business side. It's a different side that I had to learn. And it's awesome. I love learning it. I love the challenge of it, learning how to grow. But the thing is guys, most of you, if you want to start a business, you can be the best, smartest tech in the world. It does not mean that you're going to be a good business owner. And I say this all the time. I say it not to scare people, but I want you to be realistic. Does it mean that you can't learn? Of course not. But you got people like Adam who they can help guide you in that direction. It's like a resource. Nobody's ever going to pave the road for you and just let you drive it. Kind of like a trainer. Like, hey, I need you to go hit the bench. I need you to run a couple of miles. They're going to tell you the work you have to put in,
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest challenges in just growing a business. And even when you have a business, right? And so I love what you just said there. And I want to give you kudos for what you said is I am excited about the journey and I'm learning more about the business. We have a tendency, just like I was, right? At the time at the low tech, I say I wasn't a great tech, but on some of the products. We did a lot of low temp, like refrigeration, soda systems, Slurpee machines, like kind of weird stuff. And I had mastered a little bit of that, right? And so what do we usually do? We take the best guy and we make him our manager. Well, the best guy is now an apprentice manager. And that is the hardest thing for any of us to gravitate to, right? I kind of jumped forward a little bit in my career. They gave me a sales management position and we let somebody go and they promoted me. And I was like, oh man, this is awesome, right? I managed just like I was managed prior. Feet on the desk. Come on, guys, got to have better closing tickets. Your average tickets are terrible. Come on, do your, I was, driving with like almost a little bit of an iron fist. And I had a leader at the time, and I'll never forget what he said to me. As he walked by and he just said, you know what? You're doing everything that got the last guy fired. And I'm like, what? Right? I'm freaking out. And I'm like, well, what do I do? What do you need me to do? And he goes, I don't know. I'm not the best leader, but it's not that. I went home and I almost quit. Like, screw this guy. Right? But what I realized is I had to take a step back. I was new. I was in a new position. And just because I thought I knew, I had no idea what that job actually entailed. And so understanding the baseline as technicians, what do we always do? Man, we charge a lot of money, right? We have a tendency to look at some of those things from a separate side. And at the end of the day, you got to understand a baseline of your numbers. To your point, it's like looking at a set of gauges. Great. What does it mean? Still got to go look at the plate. What do I need to charge the system to, right? And it's the same thing in our business. At BDR, we're going to call them benchmarks, right? And we'll know them in the industry as KPIs, right? Key performance indicators. It's where are you at to a national average, right? And some of us are going to rank above and some are going to rank just slightly below. But what does that mean for you and your market, right? At the end of the day, going back to what I said a second ago, like a broken record, is you'll never outpace improperly priced services.
And it's funny. I have a guy that I won't say his name. I won't put him out there. But he said something. He's like, yeah, I've been running these calls, He's like, I don't want to be one of those guys that charges $350 for a capacitor. And I said, you know what? That's funny. I said, learn to get into the trade. I said, but once you start to get into business and learn the behind the scenes, you know exactly why they charge $350 for that capacitor. Nobody's trying to be dishonest. Nobody's trying to gouge somebody. When you have nice vans, nice uniforms, a training center, you send your techs away to get the best training that you can get them, insurance, all these kind of things, in order to be that good company that's good for your employees, that makes them want to come to work and set you apart from the next guy, that costs money. Well, that money's got to be recouped somewhere. So yeah, maybe we have to charge $350 for that capacitor to be able to be that reliable, good-looking, well-trained company. So you don't know what you don't know. I get that, but just think outside of the box sometimes, because I used to be that guy until I learned, and I'm like, damn, we're not charging enough. Like we should charge more than this. So like now you're getting it. You know what I mean?
No, I think that's one of my favorite things is when somebody, I call it the light bulb effect, right? When you just see them and they're like, oh, whoa, I get it. Right. And it happens all the time on our calls. And it's such a fulfillment for me, right? As a gratitude where I'm like, a selfish part of me is I get excited for that. Right. I'll just share a quick story where I had a client that had, service managers, and they came from another organization that was coached, right? But they didn't do a good enough job, in my opinion. Great organization, but they didn't explain the why. And so they came in like, oh, it's another coach. I got to listen to this guy tell us that we're not charging enough, right? And it took 2 calls with him. And the main service manager goes, I don't think we're charging enough, after he saw the numbers and he could understand it, right? You got to peel the onion back. I'm a huge advocate of, any organization trying to give their technicians the why. And you can choose how far you want to peel that back. But if you take a national average, right? Again, we're not talking about the best of the best, and we're not talking about, the B players. We're talking about national average C players. In our industry, net threes are reality for these guys. And so I always say it this way is, man, if you're going to go do $1 million worth of work, that is a ton of service calls, a ton of installs. To have $30,000 left in the bank. Now, I'm not knocking any job out there, but at that point, I'm going to take a very mindless job and I'm going to be a Walmart greeter or something and tell you beer's on aisle 30 or something. Right? I'm just going to have no stress. I'm not going to carry this bad boy around, right? And the same principle can be applied when you talk to them and you talk and you think about it this way is we might charge $300 for that capacitor. But we as an organization, after we pay all the bills, just use the national average as the example. We keep 3% of that. Do you think that's appropriate? And as a technician, most of us, because I was this guy too, we're going to argue and say, there's no way. That cap's $15. Again, just speaking at an average term. You got an hourly rate. Your business has an hourly rate as well. We only have so many hours in the day that we can bill for. And most of us, and actually, literally, there's nobody that's 100% bill efficiency. We're just not. Right? We don't have 8 hours, and we don't have one guy that bills 8 hours every day, 5 days a week, 52 weeks a year. It just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot that goes into that equation. But I think the biggest thing is if you just look at an average, if somebody makes $20 an hour, their labor is burdened, right? We pay taxes on that as a company. And so if we just look at that on a high level, let's just say that guy is even we don't offer a lot of insurances, just baseline. That employee is going to cost us $25 to $30 an hour. And overhead on our business might be $65 or $75 an hour. Well, we're already at $100. We're already at $100, right? And so on rule of thumb is, right, we want to make profit. We were joking about this offline. If you want to be a nonprofit organization, so be it.
Yeah.
You got to break even.
Yeah.
And so, that's part of that journey. And so I won't go too far off into the weeds, but, that's part of when we speak to it and you hear everybody say, you got to know your numbers. Great. What do you do with it?
Yeah.
What does it mean?
And that's great information. And I think that these guys need to hear this, guys and gals, whether you're a tech or not, because it'll make you a better tech if you understand the why behind the what that you see your bosses or your managers doing, that they're not these greedy assholes, and we're very open with all of our technicians at Beltway. It's, the more money that you guys can go out there and make, the more Beltway makes, it just trickles down to everybody. And that's why I always stress that, for the techs, it's technical and communication. I don't use the word sales. I want you to be really, really good technical and be able to communicate what you do to the customer, and financially you'll be okay. And that's where the systems come into place. If you follow that same system, you have consistent service, you provide to everybody. Normally, the outcome is where you want it to be because you're being consistent. And when it comes to management, I was that guy. I thought that was the next step in my career. I'm like, oh, well, I'm the best tech. I'm selling the most. My numbers are the best. That's where I got to go. And when I first did it, I was like, what the fuck did I do? Like, I don't want to be in an office. I was finding ways to get back in the field. And it was a transition. And finally, I got to the point where I loved it, because at one point I thought, like, hey, man, maybe I'm just going to go back in the field. Like, I'm just going to leave and go somewhere else and just get back in the field, be a supervisor, or just be a regular tech. Just pay me a good hourly wage and I'll do my thing, because I like to work with my hands. But like I said, the learning and stuff like that really helped me, get into it. So maybe some other people want to know this. I'm curious to ask you this. Since you deal with all the different ranges, the smaller, like 1 to 3 million guys versus, I don't know, the 8 to 10 or more, like the 1 to 3, like, what is their biggest hiccup that you find you have to deal with all of them versus the 8 to 10 guys? What would be one of their more common issues?
Great question. And I'll say it this way. One of the biggest hurdles in business is the $1 million mark, right? It's when you start really pushing against what can we handle? How many people can handle it, right? And it always comes back to a call count. Maybe we'll cover that in a second. But that range, if you will, right? And let's just, keep it up to about $3 million. One of the biggest challenges that we see is they're busting at the seams most of the time, unless they're in a sweet spot. Okay. And I'll explain the sweet spot in a second, but we need to add overhead, and it's usually staffing and support people internally, which that then costs us overhead. So they don't go out and they don't go produce money, right? And so we now have to pay somebody a salary or an additional hourly wage, right, to be a CSR, a receptionist, a service manager, a sales manager. And can they go out and be productive a couple hours a day? Possibly, right? And when we're on the smaller side at about $1 million or so, that employee is probably going to have a dual role, half in the field, mornings covering service tickets, trying to uncover, where can we get better training. As they get bigger, we have a little bit more dollars there to take a little more risk sooner, right? Because even if you're on the national average, think of it this way. Again, we don't coach the national averages, right? Everything we do is we're always trying to drive you to, what does everybody talk about? Everyone talks about net 20s, right? That's what you hear all the big dogs. Oh, that's where the sweet spots are. And if you price yourself to that, I call it the oh crap money, right? I'd say another word, but so
it's uncensored. You're good.
Yeah, it's like, you forgot you needed tires on your truck. You forgot the transmission went out in your truck. You forgot if a company's paying for, some of their tools, maybe torches and recovery machines, right? They fail, and we've got to replace that, right? And so that's always eating at those dollars, right? And so you price for 20 and you land at 15. You price for 20 and you have some growth that year and you land at 10, right? Or you make some reinvestments. But in that smaller side, they're struggling with trying to control overheads and then when to add somebody. When we get a little bit larger, there's a few dollars extra left, right? And so just take the simple fact that if they're 10 million and they're a net 3, there's a little bit more dollars left in the piggy to take that risk. If they're net 10s, it's better. If it's net 20, right, it becomes a little easier to do that journey. And if you hit that $5, $8, and $10 million stride, you usually have good systems in place that are supporting it, right? And so now you're just plugging key people in. And maybe you have, you'll find the people on the bus at that $5 million mark, but they're just in the wrong seat. And when we get to 7, 8, 9 million, you're moving that person around and now it's in the right seat, right? In the 3 and smaller, okay, and I'm going to say really honestly, between IGIL, like when we start hitting that 3, it starts to change, okay? But that 1 million is one of the toughest ones to handle because it's like you usually have an office now. You have somebody answering the phone. You probably don't have enough installs to have a full-time install crew unless you're just solely focused on installs only, right? And so we're going to see a mix of their blended, think of a residential guy only, no commercial. 75, 80% of their business is going to be sitting on install, but that's only 100 jobs a year or so, right? 100, 120. And there's 240 work days in a year.
Yeah.
What do you do with them the rest of the year? They got to run service calls. They got to run maintenances. And is the person able to do that? And are they capable and are they knowledgeable to do that? And that's where it's like, you got to train them up, right? Old saying, train them up or train them out.
Yeah. And
I want to throw one last thing on there about just training. In the industry, we have a tendency to always talk about this. Train your techs, train your techs. One thing I would always push back on is they're in a technical position. And they usually have somebody that's a superior of them that's strong technically. And if they get into an issue, they can make a phone call. But when we talk about training, are you training them on common sense stuff today? Where to park the van, how to approach the door, how to have a conversation with somebody. When somebody, bucks back and says, man, that's a lot of money for that capacity. Do we have sympathy? Do we have empathy? That's kind of that bridge that makes a great tech an elite tech.
I agree 100%. And also when you're talking about when you're smaller at that 1 million, maybe the owner is still running calls and he's at the position, do I come out of the field? Is it time for me to start working on the business and not in the business? You know what I mean? Like you're not sure what to do and it's a crazy time. And I've been there through several companies. I've seen the $10 million side for the company I came from and, being able to start and work my way up another one with a way better foundation with endless possibilities is awesome. But I agree with that. And I understand where people are like, oh, training in the slow season. And, it's like, oh, but you can't train when it gets busy. It's like, no, you should be training even more when it's busy. That is what I really loved. And I'm trying to get better at it. Nothing's perfect, obviously. Nobody's perfect. But what I've been trying to do is, I still have I'll do the meetings with the whole service department, the whole service team, and then I'll start bringing them in one by one. And I'll try to do those one by one things and try to help them because you still have it where some people don't want to say things in front of everybody. Even though the atmosphere is good, maybe they won't be as open. I see it making a difference.
Yeah, training, right, is a real non-negotiable. As an employee, we hate it. It's like, oh, I got to come in, I got to sit for 30 minutes, an hour, whatever that looks like. Part of that journey of training, Gil, is when we have the conversation, you're doing it right. We've got to speak to a group about what are our standards at the company. These are the do's, these are the don'ts, and this is a company standard. And then we have to bring them in one-on-one, and we have to verify are things getting done, right? Ride-alongs are so important these days. So many of us have a tendency to say, here's our playbook, go read it. I hated school. You think I'm going to read that?
Yeah. No way.
Right? No. I'm a seer and a doer. Come show me. I used to say this all the time. You come preach one time on a call, I'll memorize it. And I can duplicate that, right? And so a lot of the folks and a lot of technicians as they're coming up, and even mid-level techs, right? I have a tendency to I like to rank our techs from level 1 to level 5. And level 5 is like, he's that diamond, right? There's a lot of them that exist, but They're usually not walking in your door,
No.
right? But most technicians that are great technicians are 3s and 4s. Okay. And some of the things that they're going to incur might just take time in the field, doing it repetitive over and over and over. But at the end of the day, it's what's our standard as a business? They need to go run a call. We need to do ride-alongs. We need to verify that they're doing it, right? And then critique them, right? And so people hate to be critiqued, right?
Yep.
And so use it as this. It's constructive commentary. I'm calling the game, just how I see it. That's it, right? There's nothing bad, nothing great about it, but just take it, right? And so I made a note because I wanted to bring this up, and it's a great time probably to tee up off of that is there's bad, there's average, there's good, there's excellent, and there's elite. And to get to excellent and elite, there's a fundamental foundation there that makes those two there. It takes special skills, and you have to. Like, this is a non-negotiable. Focus on communications. You got to be able to communicate well with people. And that takes time.
Yeah. I got some guys that are, I had that gift of gab. I can talk to anybody. It comes natural. Some people have it. Some people don't. And that's why I always tell them I tell some of them like, hey, like you're one of the better techs here technically. Like, your shit. We just need to find a language for you to be able to explain exactly what you're doing to the customer so that you're not too techie, but you're also giving them what they need. I said, that's all I want you to do. I don't want you to go up there and, be the sham wow guy. You need this in your basement right now for $3.99. You know what I mean? Like, that's not what I want you to do ever. With us, if you're dishonest, I don't care if you're the best tech in the company. You get one warning, you do it again, you don't work here. I just don't want that. I feel like too many guys hear that communication side and think, oh, this guy's a dirty salesman. And we have to stop that whole mind F because it's not. I had years that I did really good and I didn't touch the big dogs, but I never had to lie to anybody. I never went against my morals, my values. I just really enjoyed serving other people, helping them, giving them options. And it's amazing. Like you said, that light bulb goes off and those people are like, all of a sudden they're giving you 5-star reviews. You're getting $2,000-$3,000 tickets and your boss is like, this is awesome. Way to go, man. You know what I mean? You're like, oh shit, like I'm going to keep doing this.
Yeah, right. As technicians, we wear capes every single day, right? We go to somebody's home it's not heating or it's not cooling and we find the repair, right? I know a lot of technicians pride themselves on the efficiency at which they can get to that problem, right? And so it's like, man, I figured that out in 20 minutes. Great. When we charge the dollars that we need to charge to be profitable and we, come in with a cape and we run out with a cape, it loses the cape flutter the second those taillights leave the house. Okay. I'm a firm believer of, there's a couple things here. We have a tendency as technicians to always tell them everything the system's not doing. Right. And most companies are charging a diagnostic and some of them are not waiving it. Right. Hey, we come out, we do a full diagnostic. Well, doesn't that mean when you find the problem and you fix the repair, you have to finish it? Because sometimes I can't complete a complete diagnostic of the system until I fix a component, or there's other components that I can verify, right? And so I actually am a firm believer of this. You're doing the customer a disservice when you don't finish it. Oh, it's a cap. Woo, look at me. I'm a hero.
Amen.
Right? Oh,
Amen.
I got you cooling in 5 minutes. And so you're hitting the nail on the head, and we have to do a better job of just informing and educating the customers of what the system is and is not doing. Go ahead and tell them, hey, I got some good news and some bad news, right? And however you want to articulate that, it's got to come from you. It's got to be authentic from you. But tell them what the system's doing and tell them where the issues are, right? I mean, I'm a firm believer of this for almost anybody is 20% of the time that a capacitor fails, it's not from the cap. There's other outlying issues there. But what do? Replace the cap. And we've all gotten these phone calls. Gil was just out here like 2 weeks ago. And we look and it was 7 months ago, but to the homeowner, it was just recently, right?
Yeah.
Or maybe it was relatively recent. Maybe it's been a couple weeks and the condenser fan motor finally dropped out. But we didn't educate them of what we're finding. At the end of the day, if you educate a customer, they're going to spend the money that they feel appropriate. I make you spend any of your money? No.
Yeah, no. People just want you to be honest with them. Tell them the truth and let them make the decision. I'm not trying to guide them in any way. I found this, like, normally this is an issue, but guess what? You don't have that. Like, this is good. Like, that's awesome. You know, it was really good to see that. But you do have ABC. There are issues that we need to get this system back up to manufacturer specifications. You know what I mean? And people just,
I love that.
yeah, and they respect their time. Like you just said, how many times you go out, you change the capacitor, you know, the guy comes off the porch like, oh, it's outside. It's outside. You never even go inside. You do the capacitor, you charge whatever your company charges, you leave. You think you're the hero, and then the guy calls back the next day. My system's not working again. Like you said, Gil's just out here. Water's on the floor. You didn't even go inside and see the filter that's plugged up, the drain that's clogged. So you did do a disservice. I'm sorry. You didn't do your job. That's just the truth of the matter. We've all been there. You have to evolve. Just like we evolve as men, as fathers, as employees, whatever it is, you have to evolve as a tech. If you're still that guy doing the bare minimum, are you really being a good tech? Let's just be honest with ourselves, you know? You're not.
You're not, right? And I'm going to say in all those bad, good, average, right? You're not even hitting an average technician. Now, I get it when it's crazy and it's, you know, I'm in Phoenix, right? And we get 115 degrees and, you know, you get slammed. But the most important thing is the customer still paid for your service. Provide the service. And so you hit one of my favorite sayings of all times. Everything we check is to manufacturer specifications. So I can, you know, if I have a company logo on my shirt, I can cover it up. I'm not the bad guy. The manufacturer states it has to be within these specs. I'm just giving you that information. Are we within tolerance or are we not? What you do with it, Mr. Homeowner, Mrs. Homeowner, that is totally up to you. But I know I get to sleep at night. Why? Because I educated you.
Yep.
If you just do those little basic things of, let me finish the diag and let me tell them everything that the system is and is not doing to manufacturer specs, you'll slowly become a rock star in this industry.
Amen. So I got here. Oh, and then got a microphone in front of me. It's like, but no, it's the truth. And like, I always say that you don't know what you don't know. But I say at the end of every show, if you want to know something, you can find out. There's resources. You're learning. Take these and incorporate in them, you know, as far as what you're doing. We've gotten to the point now where even in the busy time, our techs, I don't care if it's 100 degrees outside. I don't care if it's 60, 70, or it's 10 below, whatever. They get 4 calls. 4 calls. And I want them to go to those 4 calls and do the best freaking job that they can do for those customers. Because with our club members and stuff like that, they'll never pay for the same part twice. Because if we're doing our job properly, they shouldn't have to. Like I always say, compressors don't die, they're murdered. Normally, we just don't realize that, you know, normally they replace the system before it ever happens again. Like, be thorough, know what's going on, be different. And we had somebody explain to us, and like, we made a name for ourselves in our market. Like, we're an up-and-coming company. People know who we are. But when you put the numbers on the board of everybody in our area, we are like less than 1%, you know, with all the big dogs. So people are like, we can't grow because of these companies. Bullshit. There's enough out there for everybody. You know what I mean? If you're different, you provide a different service, you can get the phone to ring. So it doesn't matter what market you're in, how many companies are around you and all that kind of stuff. You know, I hear people say that and I'm like, and I talk about Tersh. I'm like, Tersh in Savannah, Georgia, their population is not crazy. He's booming down there. You can make the excuses or you can find out a way to get past this roadblock. It's that simple.
Yeah, well, what is he doing, right? He creates a culture, right? He created a great culture for his team and they run a standardized call. Now, are they uniquely different, right? You and I are probably very similar in how we would handle a customer. There's going to be some tweaks to our calls, but at the end of the day, I bet you the ingredients of what was done on that call is going to be the same. It's our job. It's our job as a business, as a leadership team, to give those standards to our employees. Most of us don't know, right? You know, a lot of guys are, you know, going to tech school or they're learning within the trades, and then they get into the business and they have, I'm going to say this. I mean, I was a little bit, you know, ego when I felt like I learned everything. And I didn't know nothing, right? But it's like, I don't need you telling me how to communicate. I communicate just well. I charge the customer. My favorite thing to do is always ask a technician, how much revenue do you think a service truck should do a year?
Sorry, I had to put that up.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. But how much revenue should a service truck do a year? And there's guys that'll tell you 100 grand. Well, I think 100 grand is reasonable if you make $10 an hour. It's all relevant to what we're paid. But blended average, service trucks running 4 calls a day, which is, I love hearing you say that, right? Because we have a tendency to say, oh man, I got to book more calls. I'm going to lose money. No, take care of the customers you have. Do a great service for them. And it's okay to turn somebody away that isn't your customer.
Yeah.
I know it sounds scary, but it's okay.
Yeah. I want to be that steakhouse that people wait to get into because the food's so good. I don't want to be the place that, every time we go there, we get a table. Nope. When you come into this restaurant, HVAC, hey, sorry, we're full. It's probably going to be like a 2-day wait. Oh, you know what? We'll come back in 2 days because the food's so good. That's what I want to be. Okay.
Yeah, I love it. Right. So what are you becoming? You're becoming a trusted advisor for the community, right? That we trust what you guys are telling us. It's something that I would recommend that we even communicate on our maintenances. Maintenances are great to fulfill schedules, right? In the off season from a business standpoint. But what are we doing on that maintenance is we're actually training our customers of why the heck we're going there.
Mm-hmm.
The whole point of us showing up isn't to say, hey, everything's A-okay. We'll see you next year or we'll see you in 6 months. No, it's everything to manufacturer specs and any recommendations. The customer trusts us, right? So the best customer in the world, and younger technicians typically don't understand this, but the best customer never calls us. Never. Not because they don't use us, but because when we run a maintenance for them, they take care of all the potential problems that year and they don't have a breakdown. And when we show up again the next year, if there's any outlying issues, we revert back and say, hey, it was great to know that you didn't have a breakdown and took care of those repairs, got us through the off season. I'm only seeing 1 or 2 or no issues, right? And I'll say this, how often does a technician actually celebrate a win? Celebrate wins with customers. When we run maintenance, just think about this, right? I was this guy, so I'll take full ownership of this. When I would run a maintenance and it was a brand new system, I was like, I got to go run this again.
So funny. I was just thinking that. I was going to say that when I started. Go ahead. God, that is crazy. Yeah. I was thinking that.
They're my favorite, right? Because I'm going to celebrate the win with the customer. I'm going to say, hey, it's fantastic. Thanks for purchasing through us. Looks like you guys did a great job. Went ahead and checked your system today, and I tried like heck to find an issue. And you know what, Gil? Everything checks out with the manufacturer specifications. 90% of customers are going to look at you and go, what do you mean you find something wrong with it? I just paid 15 grand for this thing last year. Well, that's why we're here. It's not if, it's when. These are working pieces of equipment. I'm an anomaly right now. So obviously in Arizona, I'm ashamed to say this, but I've got some original units to 2008 in my house, way past life expectancy. I've only had 1 capacitor ever fail on me. Ever. So if I'm a consumer, just a normal average Joe out there, okay, do I see the value in a maintenance? No. So what do you have to do? You have to come in and you have to educate me. You have to do a wow service, right? It's a steakhouse.
Yeah.
I'm willing to wait. I appreciate you educated me. Hey, at this time, right, I'm not going to make an investment, but I'm going to stay on the program. Get me signed up for another 6 months, right? And truth be told, like, they'll get changed before summer. We already heated up here. But, it was like just being lazy myself, like an average consumer. Wait, I'll just take care of it next year. Made it through another season, right? So if I'm that way and I come from the industry, I've owned businesses, right? I've had partnerships in this industry. I've done every facet. Why would our consumer be any different? The only way that it's going to change is somebody come in and educating me.
Yeah. And if you go out and you educate, worst case scenario, that's what they say. You know what? Hey, I'm not going to put any money into it right now, but I'll stay on the maintenance plan or club membership. Okay, that's a win. Your job is just to advise them, educate them, not beat them up and take their wallet, I tell the guys, if you go in there and you get them to become a club member and you get a review, as far as I'm concerned, that's a win. I'll take that. That's okay with me. What were you saying if you were an owner?
No, I was going to say, right, because it's just an average. I'm a firm believer if I don't love 0 tickets, but you said it on right now. Customer provided great information. I could read your service ticket. You educated the customer, and they stayed on our program. You provided a wow service. It's why it's an average, right? One of the best batting averages over a career was .366. So 37% of the time at bat, if you will, right? He hit the ball. That's why it's an average. Average ticket means you're going to have a couple donuts, right? Do we want them? Of course not. But are you going to have them? Yes. But what I don't love seeing is we go out, we spend an hour, and we charge a service call fee, and there's no notes on the service ticket, right? There was no maybe accessories options, right? I say this all the time. I walk into my super Walmart, right? There's now like an 8-foot counter to thermostats in mine. I mean, we know Home Depot and Lowe's and everybody else got into it, right? And if you're parts of the country that has the Menards and, Ace Hardwares, they've got them too. I'm west of Phoenix, but mine right down the street has an 8-foot counter dedicated to thermostats. How many of your customers have this? Smartphones. Every one of them almost, right? My parents are, don't shoot me for this, I think they're 77 and 76 this year. They have iPhones.
Yeah.
Now, do they want a smart control? No, but it'd be great to know that it's out there. And if you ever like and you start traveling and, do whatever, somebody could educate them. They just bought a new system.
Yeah. And
the company who educated them was like, here it is. And so I'll say this, an option of one, even when we have a repair, right? Come out and hey, your cap's bad. Option of one is an option of none. Because all you're saying is, yes, I want it. No, I don't. There's only 2 ways you can go. If we give them options on the repair and say, hey, at the end of the day, here's a couple of my findings, or even on a system replacement, right? We give options, good, better, best, right? Great, fantastic, whatever words you want to use, okay? Bronze, gold, platinum, whatever that looks like, it's options. Customers want options because they know they have them in anywhere we go. So, for me, option of one is an option of none.
Yeah, I love that. And just think about how we like to buy. You don't go to a restaurant and read a menu and there's only one thing, Like, oh, I guess I'll have the chicken. And like, real fast before I get into my point, my friend Rookie said, not all reviews are good. Well, they should be, because if you're doing what you have to do and you ask for it, the way that we ask customers is, hey, Mrs. Smith, everything's all going, if you wouldn't mind providing me with a 5-star review, if you think I did 5-star service today, if I did not, would you let me know what I can do to improve? Most of the time, they'll tell you, oh, well, I wish you would have put your booties on a little bit sooner. You're going to address the issue before they go there. You know what I mean? And then I'll tell them, well, you know what? It sounds like I didn't earn a 5-star review today, Mrs. Smith. Next time we come out, I promise you, we're going to make sure that we get that 5-star. And when we do that, would you mind leaving us a 5-star review at that time? You know what? I'll do that. There's always a will, there's a way. You just got to think. But what I was going to say, like...
What is that? What is that? What are you talking about? Communication skills.
Yes, exactly. It's just being able to talk, and it's honest. It's not bullshitting. It's not always what you say. It's how you say it. And the other thing is, like, people think we're weird sometimes, but we promote customers changing their own thermostats. We don't make any money. It costs more money to get the truck out there to put a thermostat in. And now with the EcoBees and the Nest, people know what they cost. Yeah. You can't mark them up like crazy. Yep. It takes 10 minutes to put it on. So we tell a lot of customers, hey, like if they say they want one, we'll say, hey, yes, this one will match your system. If you want us to put it on, if you have it, next time we come out to do the maintenance, we'll put it on for nothing. Or we'll say, hey, if you want to go ahead and get it, like, yes, that'll work. If you want to put it on, turn the system off. We'll give them a little rundown. If you have any issues, call. We'll let you talk to one of the technicians. Normally, they can walk them through. And if they can't, it's like, hey, then we'll be there to come out and save the day. And people like that because it feels like I'm not digging in their wallet for the dumb shit. Yep. If I'm going around getting $400 or whatever it is for a thermostat, so they're paying $250 for the thermostat. We charge what, $275? We're making $20, $150 to go out. Like, you're not making dick. I'm not going to turn wheels for that,
Right. It's a hard thing, especially on like the thermostats is a unique one today. And you hit the nail on the head that if you actually look how some of those should be priced, like the EcoBees and the Nest, they're $600-$700 retail for us to go out and do them. Right. To make the margins and the dollars that we need to support the business. The difference is why we're there. It might be on our truck. What is that? We're educating the customer. Going back to something you said earlier is we don't sell, right? No one loves to be sold anything. I like to buy. And I like to buy because I'm educated and I like the person that's educating me. Be that person, right? At the end of the day, it's like we just have to have a little bit of a humble pie to us, right? And we don't create this overnight, right? I didn't get to where I'm at today and be able to preach to what it is. And same with you because we've been in the industry 6 months or a year or 2 years or 3. We spend countless hours reading books, listening to podcasts, right? Finding mentors, people to have conversations. I mean, let's be honest, between, social media platforms via Instagram, even going back to the Facebook, right? There's groups on there that you can just follow and read, and you'll pick up a little bit every single day.
I say at the end of every show, exactly what you just said.
Yeah. When do we learn, right? It's not the 8 hours that you're on the clock. It's the 8 hours you're at home.
Amen.
Right. And I'm not asking anybody to do anything above what they should be doing when we have families, but you'd be shocked if you just absorb 1 hour a day of information in some facet. Read a book, start with just reading 10 pages. I actually struggle reading because I'm blind in one eye. And so like the pages get blurry after a little bit, right? But if you can read just a little bit, or you can listen to a podcast, get an audiobook, you'd be shocked, and you just slowly put little tidbits in there. And then for this is, I would say this. Don't try and read or listen to an audiobook or a podcast to memorize every win. Take one takeaway and apply it to your life.
Yeah. Amen. And normally it also takes you got to be pretty decent technically. And sometimes you might be confident when you shouldn't be technically. We've all been there. But if you have some kind of confidence, that's when you can start to get to the point where you can start to try to communicate, because you're not second guess your diagnosis. I don't know if what I'm telling these people is actually the truth. But I did this, and I wasn't 100% with it, but it's called the radio challenge. Stop listening to the radio for 1 year. I would only listen to audiobooks, to podcasts, different things like that, something that was going to benefit me. And Ryan, the owner of Beltway, you guys have seen him. He's been on here. He always reads. He got me into it. He would make us hey, I want you to read this book and we'll talk about it. And I'm like, dude, I don't fucking read. What are you doing? I hated it. But guess what? You have to be uncomfortable to grow. If you are comfortable right now, then you're not growing. Okay? You have to push yourself out of your comfort zone to be able to grow at anything. It's one of those things, you're uncomfortable, you learn something new, you get better, you're comfortable for a little bit. Like we just said, enjoy that win. And guess what? It's time to get uncomfortable again. That's the way it has to happen. And I've learned so many things about business, about culture, about management, about myself, finances, all kinds of things I've learned by not wasting that time listening to the same damn songs over and over again. And people always say, I don't have time. And I was the first person to use that excuse. I found time, And guess what? You guys all take a 25-minute dump every day, wasting time. You know what? Listen to something. Read a book while you're doing it. If there's a will, there's a way. Sometimes our brain, we find an easier way to make an excuse than we do to try to find a resolution to something. I'm not preaching because I've been there, done that,
I couldn't agree with you more, right? I mean, that's the biggest thing is we'll go back to being whoever we naturally are, right? If you're not a reader, you're going to fall back into not reading when you become undisciplined, right? If you're a lazy person, go look in your truck. You got trash, clean it when you get home. Do you spend 5 minutes when you get home to reorganize for the next day, right? If you're creating those disciplined habits, you'll create them for a lifetime, right? And so just start by doing something, right? And so think of it this way. So there's a saying out there, and it's information is not power, but rather taking that information and applying it to your world is what creates power. We have a tendency in this world to be information gatherers. And let me tell you something. The trades are some of the worst. Oh, I listen to so-and-so. I do this. I read this book. I go to so-and-so seminar. I go to AHR. I talk to all these guys. I paid for so-and-so. I got coaching from somebody. I did this. Well, what did you do with the information? If you don't implement anything, you're just an information gatherer.
Wasted time.
Yep. Big time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've said that before. You can go learn all the information and get all hyped up at these events and be like, man, that is so cool, man. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. You're not going to do shit. That's what you're going to do. Hey, I've been there, done that. I'm not sitting acting like I haven't been that guy. But when you start to do things and actually implement those things you learned, it's like, holy shit, this is awesome. This is amazing. Guys, when we bring people on here and we talk about different things, I want you guys to soak this knowledge up. The whole point is, I always say, let's be better together. All of us together collectively are good at different things. We have knowledge. Take them little pieces, man, so all of us can go out there and be kicking ass. You know what I mean? Providing amazing service to customers, building amazing businesses that do that, and change the name for the trades. Like, it killed me when I watched one of those behind the scenes shows, and I forget where it was, but it was like 6 HVAC guys, like, the hidden cameras, and like 5 out of 6 were like scumbags, and I'm like, dude, that's not who we are. Like, that's not who we are. I can't believe that in my heart of hearts that there's more of them than there is of like good, hardworking, blue collar people out there wanting to do the right thing. But, we got to set the standard for our trade. This is our group. Each and every one of us is a member of this group. Start raising the bar, start setting the standard, and those chucking of trucks, people like that, they're going to start to fall off because they realize they can't just blend in anymore. So if they're around, it's because we allow them to be around. Sorry, I was preaching there. I got a little fired up. I'm sorry.
No, hey, you keep preaching because it's true, right? I mean, look, we all start somewhere, right? And for a lot of us, even most companies today started as the small guy. But what were they? They were implementers. They did what most people wouldn't do. And it's not taking advantage of customers, it's educating, right? And so, think about this. We get paid in this industry not for what we do, but it's for the number of problems that we find and the number of solutions that we offer.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's not a problem. We uncover something. Somebody maybe, is concerned about air quality. Somebody's concerned, they're having power surges, right? And we find a solution to what their concerns are, right? So it's not a direct problem with a breakdown, but it's tied in the same way. And that's how you'll grow in this industry. And so you got to make yourself aware that you can't go in with blinders on anymore, right? And just, hey, this is what I'm here for, not pay attention. Some of the low-hanging fruit, right? And, just talking about like other things are CO detectors. The average homeowner has no idea that the actual manufacturer only say that they last 10 years. Some of them are 5, but most of them in homes are 10. Now, whether or not you take care of that repair, that's up to you and your organization. But when you walk by and you're in an older home or with an elderly couple, what's so hard of just communicating to say, hey, out of curiosity, when's the last time you changed those? What are we doing? We're just educating. Okay. That creates a trust factor. What are we always trying to be? Trust advisors.
Exactly. And it's funny. We had this conversation today, and I love it. That's why I'm going to say this. If you go into somebody and you tell somebody, I'm a trustworthy person, you're going to be like, okay, you're full of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. I can't tell you I'm trustworthy. But if I walk behind somebody in a restaurant and I see a $5 bill in the round and I pick it up and I say, hey, is this your 5? Now they think I'm trustworthy by my actions. When I go in and I talk to like customers, a lot of times they don't even know what these accessories are. They have no clue. We assume they know and they don't want them. A lot of times I'll tell them like, hey, your system's awesome. It's clean. It's a newer system. It's efficient. But do you know some of the things you can add to this system? No, I have no idea. Oh, do you know you can add these cool things on it to clean the air? It'll catch more dirt in your filter. It'll make it so it's almost like hospital air. So allergies and stuff like that, they're like, oh, I didn't know that. Like, yeah, we can put humidifiers on here. I won't go through every single thing. But a lot of times people are like, oh, I had no idea about that.
Agreed. Too many people have no idea what our services are. They just think we fix problems, right? This industry is most of everything we do is reactionary. Customers call, and then I hate to break it to all the technicians out there, and even to the business owners. Are there a few random crazy lunatics out there that just love calling us? Okay, maybe. But think about this for a second. They're uncomfortable. The system's either down, they're having issues, it's not keeping up, right? It's taking time out of their day, and what do they got to do? They got to call us. So they're already unhappy. And when we show up at the door and we're carrying our baggage for the day, it only makes it worse, and that wow service is gone out the window the second you walk in that door. So nobody loves calling us. Do they love the after effect? Absolutely. But you know what they also know? It's broken and I have to spend money. What's it costing me?
Yeah.
So go in and just educate, right? Going back to just everything we keep talking about comes back to the very beginning. Just inform, educate, have a conversation with the client. But just know that person that you're walking into, I always say this, you're going to get me as a customer, and I'm just not a nice guy sometimes. Right? Because it's like, you're putting me out. I know I got to spend money. What's it going to cost? Here we go. But it's okay, right? Because some people can work with me very well. Think about this. I love cars. Okay. I mean, at one point I was an insane guy. I had like 8 cars at once and it was just dumb, waste of money. I used to love just walking to a car lot, going to the showroom and checking out the new cars that were coming out, right? Stuff in. You're a lunatic if you want to do that now. Why? Because 8 people corral, show up. Hey, what brings you in today? Blah, blah. Don't be that guy. Be the one guy who's in the back that didn't rush up to you. And when he walks by, he just goes, hey, man, if you need anything, just let me know. That's the guy I'm going to talk to.
Yep. Amen.
He's not trying to shove something down my throat.
No. He's just let me know that he's there if I need him to answer any questions. Yeah. It's crazy. Man, we're almost at 9:30. This went by, so yeah. I don't want to keep you.
It flew, man.
It definitely did. This is a great conversation. And I want to thank you so much for coming back on, man. I appreciate you. I'm glad that we can do this without the technical difficulties so people can actually hear some of the knowledge bombs that you were dropping. And man, you're always welcome to come back on here anytime because I feel like we covered some good things, but we only touched on this much out of all the stuff that we could have talked about, in a little over an hour and 15 minutes. So I guess if anybody would like to get in touch with you, reach out to you, how can those people do that?
Yeah, so some of the best places, right, is if you would like to learn more about just us as an organization and who I'm with, it's bdrco.com, right? You can learn a little bit more about us. You can reach out. You can shoot me an email anytime. And it's just Adam, my last name, Skorstad, at bdrco.com. And we're always happy to help. And if anybody knows you directly, right, feel free to reach out and you can send them my cell number. I'm always glad to reach out and talk and help answer anything. You can shoot me text messages. That's what this industry is about, is giving back and having conversations and helping people over road humps and challenges, right? And a lot of times what we do is just having a conversation.
Yeah, it's amazing and it's powerful conversations. So, guys, if I didn't say this before, so obviously BDR, they have different people, sales coaches, technical coaches, all that kind of stuff. Adam is a head coach there, so he helps people in a couple of different facets. So just so you guys know, if you are one of those people that's a small business owner or big business owner or whatever, and you're stuck and need help, I highly recommend Adam. You just heard some of the things that he talked about, which we said was just a small piece of the puzzle. So it's definitely legit help. And a lot of us in the industry, influencers, podcasters, we all know Adam, for that reason, because he's very good at what he does. So thank you, buddy. I'm going to close this show. I appreciate your time, man. And we definitely got to stay in touch.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it. Look forward to it again, man.
Yep. Thanks, my man.
See ya.
All righty, guys. Man, so this was fun. Real fast, thank you to everybody in the chat, man. When I get these conversations, it's hard to sit here and look at the chat as much as I possibly can and still be engaged in the conversation. But thank you for all of you that are here that, we're communicating, saying different things, talking football. I wanted to chime in a few times, but I couldn't. Mr. Tons, Jason Johnson, Rookie, obviously, I appreciate my moderators. Thank you, guys. Mr. C.Y. Young, Sam Andrew, let's see who else. I know Chris, HVACR Videos. Thank you, buddy, for coming in. Mr. Reliable, what is up, my friend? I can't wait till you come on here soon, buddy. Also, Reliable HVACR, Adrian has his own podcast. Go check out his, just like this. He does it live. Go check out his podcast as well. Mr. Kraus is here. Mr. HVAC North, what's up, my Canadian brethren? Thank you for being here, my man. I want to try to make sure I did not miss anybody. I know Hughes was in here earlier. If I missed you, I'm sorry. I think I'm saying everybody. Thank you guys for being here. Very, very good show, man. I have a jam-packed week next week. I'm almost positive that I have Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I'm going to have podcasts. So I got a jam-packed week, a bunch of awesome guests coming up. I'll put out the show links like I did this one in advance so you guys can know. Here, let me see. I'll actually tell you. So the 23rd is dropping the Bluon news that I've been telling you guys about. Don't forget that. Huge, huge news that I'm going to be letting you guys know about. Yes, so it is Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So I have Field Pulse, Mr. Daniel Myers coming on Tuesday. Wednesday, I got Miss Coral the Killer Whale. If you don't know who Coral Whale is, she's a woman in this industry. She's a maintenance tech, and she is a fucking beast, okay? She learned a system, she stuck to it, and now she kicks ass and takes name. And then, obviously, Thursday, the 23rd, is going to be Bluon with our secret guest to announce a partnership that is going to blow people away. So, yes, awesome week next week. Like I said, thank you guys for being here, man. And I want you guys to take these conversations because all of you, depending on what stage you're in, I want you to aspire to own your own business. Does it mean you will? No. But I always say this. this world, the tax codes and all that, they weren't created for people working 9 to 5s. They were created for entrepreneurs. And that's when you start to really have a business, have an LLC, an S corp, or whatever it is, and it can really, really change your life. Even like, obviously I'm involved in other businesses besides Beltway, and I have some other things that I do, but the podcast alone, if this is all that I had, is a business. So it allows me to do different things, and I'd be more than happy to explain this in a show all on its own, but it opens up different avenues, all right? I want you guys to think out of the box. I want you guys to be financially free. I want you to be happy, and I want you to be able to do all the things that you want to do in life. There's nothing worse than living paycheck to paycheck, worrying about Friday when it's going to come because I need to get groceries, or, I need a pack of smokes or whatever it is because I don't have any money. And I've been there, done that. I don't want any of you to have to do that. And if I can help you on that tip, let me know. Put it down in the comments, whatever it is. I'd be more than happy to share some tips that have helped me along the way to not be like that. But yeah, that's it, guys. If you haven't already, please give me a like, subscribe, share this with somebody here every Wednesday night. That way you're notified when all these shows are coming. I know most of you here already are, but if you're watching this after the fact, if you can go give me a follow, a like, or whatever it is, whatever platform, Instagram, TikTok, and then the Facebook business page. You don't have to join the Facebook group if you don't want. I know some of the groups get a little raunchy, but totally up to you. I really appreciate your support. And if you also, I don't ask you guys for much, if you wouldn't mind leaving the podcast a review, wherever you get your podcast at. If it's on YouTube, do it there. Well, not there, but any of the podcast apps, Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, all of those different ones, or you can just go to Facebook or one of those and just leave the podcast a review. That way it can keep building this thing up and try to get to as many people as possible. All right, guys, remember, be safe out there. All right, we all got somebody to make it home to. I want you to make it home the same way that you left. Do the little things. Set yourself apart from the next guy. We talked about that stuff in this show. Those little things, those podcasts, those books, those online classes, the courses like last week with Jimmy, Pork Chop, all those kind of things. Set yourself apart. Make yourself be uncomfortable, because eventually you will reap the benefit of being comfortable down the road. All right? You guys know if I can help you in any way, I will always do so. I am always here to help you. I don't know everything. I don't claim to know everything. But fuck it. If I don't know, then we'll learn it together. All right? Guys, remember, let's be better together. Keep rocking and rolling. And until next week, I will talk with you mofos later. All right? Peace. Peace.
Thanks for listening to the HVAC Uncensored podcast. Don't forget to check us out on Facebook and Instagram, or email us anytime at hvacuncensored@gmail.com. Now, get back to work. Shut this down. The views and opinions shared on the HVAC Uncensored podcast may not necessarily be the views and opinions of our sponsors or guests.
Real fast before I end this, guys, make sure you're here next week. 3 shows. Also, next week, with this episode going out on Monday, I should break 3 million audio downloads. So I'm hoping to announce that next week. I don't know which show it's going to be, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. So please come check it out. All right? Have a great week. Have a great weekend. See you guys later.